So DJI might have just created their own competition. On one side, you've got the DJI Mini 5 Pro, which is a tiny drone packed with a 1-inch sensor, pro video features and fantastic flight control. So on the other side, you've got the brand new Lito X1, a drone that barely even needs you to fly it. And that's exactly why people are calling this the Mini Killer. And that's because this thing is built to do everything automatically. Tracking, filming and even framing your shots, while the Mini 5 Pro does expect you still to be the pilot. So if you are looking for a compact drone in 2026, you've probably narrowed it down between these two choices, the Mini 5 Pro and the new DJI Lito X1. Now, I know that there is a Lito one, but as I bought the drones myself, I could only afford to buy one of the new drones, as I'm not sponsored. So I went for the Lito X1 because it is the closest to the new Mini 5 Pro. And because I'm not sponsored, I can basically say whatever I want in relation to these drones, good or bad, because I don't have to toe the DJI party line and say whether or not these drones are fantastic, even if they're not. So on that note, if you could do the like, subscribe and the notification bell, that would be fantastic, as it does help the channel out no end. Now, I will mention the specs for the Lito 1 when I can, but that's only going to be for context in relation to the Lito X1. So today I'm going to be breaking down everything from battery life, range, wind resistance, which I think DJI has been a little bit sneaky about, but there's more about that in the video coming up. Obstacle avoidance, camera quality, tracking modes, shooting modes and more. Everything to help you decide which one of these drones is going to be actually worth it. And after all, there is a big difference in price. So before I do compare the specs, it is important to understand where both of these drones sit. The DJI Mini 5 Pro is part of the DJI Mini series, which has been dominating the sub 250 gram drones for a number of years, and it follows on from the Mini 3 Pro and the Mini 4 Pro. And it is easy to understand why it is so popular. It's because it's their flagship drone. It's under 250 grams. It's really beginner friendly and powerful, and it does produce some fantastic results. So basically, it's DJI's do-it-all consumer drone. Whereas you've got the new Lito 1 and the Lito X1, and they're part of the new experimental series, because these are replacing the Mini 3 and the Mini 4K, and it's supposed to be simpler AI self-flying drones, which is probably why they have the tagline of just fly. So this line is going to be focusing on autonomous flying, AI tracking and simplicity over manual control. So I suppose you need to think of it as more of a less pilot and an AI camera drone. Now, the DJI Mini 5 Pro and the Lito X1 do share a lot of similarities and specs, but you really need to purchase the more expensive Mini 5 Pro. First of all, when it comes to weight, as I said, they're both going to be around about the 249 grams, and that's keeping it on the right side of that critical 250 grams limit, which means there's going to be fewer regulations in many countries. Now, compare the DJI Mini 5 Pro to the new Lito 1 and X1 drone. They're both designed to be ultra lightweight and compact, and they're even smaller and lighter in feel, but only slightly compared to the Mini 5 Pro. So they do, as I say, come in under the 250 gram limit. Now, add to that the battery life. On the Mini 5 Pro, it does come in at 36 minutes standard flight time, and you can use a Pro battery of up to 52 minutes. And the Lito 1 and X1 also offer up to 36 minutes standard flight time. And again, they both have Pro batteries of up to 52 minutes, but currently not available in the UK or the EU. So again, on flight times, there's no difference between the two drones. But in reality, you're probably only going to get about 27 minutes out of the basic battery, even though it does state up to 36 minutes. So if you do go for either of the drones, you want to look at getting one of the combo packages, because you are going to get 3 batteries included in that price. Another thing which is practically identical on both the drones is going to be the maximum flight distance. And they are roughly 20 to 21 kilometers, so that's about 12.5 to 13 miles. But remember, you do have to keep in mind the visual line of sight rules. And then you've got the wind rating, and this is where I think DJI have been a little bit sneaky. Now, both the Mini 5 Pro and the Lito have a wind rating of level 5. But level 5 on the Mini 5 Pro is coming in at 12 meters a second, or 43 kilometers, or 25.8 miles an hour. Whereas on both of the Litos, it's coming in at 10.7 meters a second, which is 38.5 kilometers an hour, or 23.9 miles an hour. So the Lito does have just under 10% less wind resistance, even though both drones offer wind resistance of level 5. But considering the size of both the drones, they are still really stable in high winds like today. But as always, with all drones, they are better flown in lower wind and calmer conditions. Then that's going to go on to the sensor size and the image quality, and this is where the real difference is going to show up. Now, the Mini 5 Pro does pack a 1-inch sensor, which is massive considering the size of the drone. And that means more light, better details and a stronger dynamic range. And in fact, it can hit 14 stop of dynamic range, letting you keep details better in bright skies and also the darker shadows. Now compare that to the Lito lineup. The DJI Lito X1 uses a 1/1.3 inch sensor, and that's still very good, but it is noticeably smaller. But again, you do get HDR with up to 14 stops of dynamic range, which is again impressive for its class. And it also offers 10-bit D-Log-M. But physically, it can't capture as much light as you do get on the Mini 5 Pro, but it's still going to give you excellent results. And if you are just starting out, you want to use the H.265 format, so you will get the best image possible. And then you got the Lito 1, and this drops down to a 1/2-inch sensor, which is much smaller again. Also, there's no HDR, no advanced color profiles, so what you shoot is basically what you get. But with all three drones, if you shoot in auto using 264, you're going to get 8-bit. So if possible, shoot in H.265 and you are going to get 10-bit. And as I said, you will get 10-bit D-Log-M on the Mini 5 Pro and the Lito X1. So just to summarize that, the Mini 5 Pro is going to give you the best image quality with a bigger sensor and 10-bit D-Log-M. The Lito X1 is going to give you a good balance, and it's also going to give you 10-bit D-Log-M and 14 stops of dynamic range. And the Lito 1 is just going to be the entry level with limited dynamic range and 10-bit color, providing you are using H.265. So if you do care about cinematic footage and editing flexibility, then the Mini 5 Pro is still going to dominate. But if you just want excellent looking results with less effort, then you need to look at the Lito X1. Now, added onto this, you're going to have the frame rates. So all three drones will offer up to 60 frames per second in 4K, and you're going to get slow motion of 100 frames per second on the Lito 1 and the X1, whereas on the Mini 5 Pro, you're going to get 120 frames a second. So there is again a slight difference in the slow motion range. So again, they are on a par with the Mini 5 Pro, but the Mini 5 Pro does have that slight edge on slow motion. And this is the point where I'm going to stop for 2 minutes and saying, if you are finding it useful, if you could do the like and subscribe and the notification bell, that would be greatly appreciated, and the hype. As I said, I'm not sponsored, so all the cost of the drones is falling on to myself and taking the money out of my grandkids' inheritance, because apparently I can't spend all my money on drones and single malt whiskey. So if you could do that, there's also an option there for buy me a coffee. That would be greatly appreciated too. So now I'm going to go on to the vertical shooting. Now the Mini 5 Pro does have true vertical shooting thanks to its rotating gimbal. But with the Lito 1 and X1, they both offer vertical shooting at 2.7K, and this is because they are cropping into the image. So it's not a true vertical image as you would get on the Mini 5 Pro, but it is still perfectly acceptable for things like social media, and it saves you having to crop down in post. And the next step is going to be tracking. Now, with all three drones, the Mini 5 Pro, the Lito X1 and the Lito 1, they all offer Active Track 360. And that allows you to track yourself and subjects automatically. And you can move the dial on the bottom left-hand side of the screen. And then that is going to move the drone to a new position. And that's going to be great for things like dynamic shots. So this means the fact you haven't got to rely on your piloting skills. The drone's going to move from one position to another automatically. And that's fantastic. Now you can also use the drones with spotlight mode, and this also gives you a lot of flexibility because the drone is going to keep the subject centered while you control the position of the drone, so you can get more dynamic shots, exactly what you're trying to frame. And then finally, when it comes to tracking, you've also got the point of interest mode. And with point of interest mode, you just select your subject and the drone's going to automatically rotate around that subject, keeping it in the center of the frame. And I'm going to do a video on Active Track 360, so there will be a link up here for you to get more information on that too. Now, when you do use the Active Track 360, which I mentioned a few moments ago, you do get more flexibility when it comes to using it on the Mini 5 Pro, because you get two tracking rings allowing you to do an inner and an outer distance and a lower and a higher height. Whereas when you're using the Lito X1, you're only going to get the one ring, so you are going to be a little bit more limited. But realistically, the Active Track 360 on all three of the drones is great. But one thing you do need to be aware of when you are using the active track is when it comes to the tracking speeds. So on the Mini 5 Pro, it is slightly faster and it comes in at 15 meters a second, which is 33 miles per hour or 54 kilometers an hour. And that's against the slower 12 meters a second of the Lito X1. And that comes in at 28.6 miles an hour or 43 kilometers an hour. So they're both really good, but you do get that slight edge again with the Mini 5 Pro. Then also on both drones, you do have some specialized flight features. Now the first one of these is going to be cruise control, and this for me is one of the most underrated features you get on drones today. So when you are using cruise control, it's going to lock the drone into a constant speed and direction, so you don't have to worry about pushing the sticks. So this means you are going to get smoother, more cinematic shots, especially on long fly-throughs or on tracking scenes. So instead of fighting the controls, you can focus on framing and the camera movement. So it's simple, it's just going to make your footage instantly look more professional. And as I said, all three drones offer this, and there's a video on that up here as well. And another specialized feature you got is going to be waypoints. And again, this is a powerful feature because it means you can pre-plan a flight path by setting specific points in the air. And then the drone is going to fly that exact route automatically, the same speed, same angles, every time you fly the drone. So this is perfect for repeated shots, cinematic sequences, or tracking changes over time. Now, you only get waypoints on the DJI Lito X1 and the DJI Mini 5 Pro. You don't get it on the Lito one itself. So again, this brings the functions of the X1 and the Mini 5 Pro closer together. So if you do want precision and repeatability, then waypoints are an absolute game changer. Now, when it comes to obstacle avoidance, all three drones offer 360-degree omnidirectional sensing, allowing the drones to detect and bypass any obstacles. But there is a difference. Now, the Mini 5 Pro offers omnidirectional binocular vision system, and that's supplemented by a forward-facing LiDAR and an infrared sensor on the bottom of the aircraft. Whereas the Lito X1 offers omnidirectional monocular vision system. I think it's pronounced monocular anyway, which is supplemented by a forward-facing LiDAR and an infrared sensor again on the bottom of the aircraft. So this means that the Mini 5 Pro is going to be built for precision and control, whereas the Lito X1 is more built for automation and simplicity. So one helps you fly better, whereas the other one is going to try and fly for you. And when it comes to the Lito one, it does offer the same as the Lito X1, just without that forward-facing LiDAR. So this means that in low light, say dusk, both the Lito X1 and the Mini 5 Pro are going to detect, stop and bypass, depending on your settings, objects that it encounters, thanks to the LiDAR on the front of the drone, whereas the Lito one won't do this. Now, although there are differences, you will get a safer flight and way more confidence when you are flying in tight spaces with the Mini 5 Pro. But to be honest with you, that doesn't take anything away from flying with the other two. The Lito X1, with its omnidirectional sensing plus the LiDAR, does give it strong awareness for beginner-focused drones. Now, when it comes to cinematic shots and automated shots, both drones take slightly different approaches. So on the Mini 5 Pro, you do get full quick shots and master shots. And we're talking about the automated moves like droney, rocket and orbit, and the complex cinematic sequences that then stitch these together to give you the master shots. So it's designed to give you professional looking footage with one tap, while still letting you tweak all the control. Now with the Lito X1, it is slightly different. So instead of using the traditional quick shots, it does lean heavily into AI-driven auto shooting, meaning it tracks you and it builds the shot automatically without you even picking the mode. So the difference is simple. The Mini 5 Pro again gives you a lot more cinematic control with smart presets, whereas the Lito X1 is fully automated for hands-off filming. So that gives you AI auto shots, auto framing and social media ready clips. Now when it comes to photography, all the drones offer JPEG and RAW and sizes of 12 megapixels. But on the Lito one and the X1, you can take photos in up to 48 megapixels, and on the Mini 5 Pro, it does go slightly higher at 50 megapixels. But on all the drones, you're going to get things like the burst shooting, the automatic exposure bracketing, and time shots, but you will have slightly more options when it comes to using these features on the Mini 5 Pro. But for casual users, both the Lito one and the X1 are going to be perfect for most uses. And then you've got the internal storage. So on both the Mini 5 Pro and the X1, you're going to get 42 gigabytes of internal storage, but you don't get any internal storage on the Lito one. Plus, you're going to get things like the auto on and off when you unfold the legs, and that, to be honest with you, is a nice little touch. And obviously you get the auto return to home should you lose your signal when you're out flying, and you can fly both the drones with the RC2 or the NC-N3 controllers. So now you need to decide which one is going to suit you best. So first up is going to be the Mini 5 Pro. And this one is aimed at content creators and enthusiasts who really want a high-end camera with the best quality available without carrying a bulky drone. And it's going to be perfect for vloggers, YouTubers, or anyone who wants cinematic shots in a really compact size, easy to fly package, and with that fantastic 1-inch sensor. And then of course you've got the Lito X1, and this drone is going to be geared more towards beginners and casual users. So if you're just getting into drones and you want to fly something simple and affordable and it's going to be fun to fly, then this is going to be your entry point. So you need to think of social media clips, quick aerial shots, and learning the basics. But it's a lot more versatile in some ways than the Neo 2, so it's a good drone if you want to step up. And then finally you're going to have the Lito 1, and this is going to be aimed at hobbyists who want more control and better performance than a beginner drone such as the Neo 2. So you don't need any professional features, then the Lito 1 is going to be perfect. And as I said, it's great for people upgrading their skills and looking for smoother footage and more creative options. So basically it boils down to this. The Mini 5 Pro is going to be the high-end spec for creators. The Lito X1 is going to be for beginners and people with a greater interest, and the Lito 1 for growing hobbyists. So as I said at the beginning, is it going to be a Mini 5 killer? Yes and no. It does offer you some fantastic options, and personally I think this is going to be appealing to way more people than the Mini 5 Pro. Obviously you've got the cost option, but pound for pound you are getting a lot of drone for your money with the Lito X1. Okay, so that's the end of the video. If you've got any questions in relation to any of the DJI drones, including the Mini 4 Pro, Mini 5 Pro, the Neo 2, the Lito or the Lito X1, or even the Hover X1 Pro or Pro Max, let me know in the comments below. And as I said, if you could do the like, subscribe, notification bell, and the hype, all those would be greatly appreciated. And if you want to buy me a coffee, that would be greatly appreciated too. And I'll catch you again next time. So thanks for watching, and bye.